G'day, it's Paul. Let's look at medullary thyroid carcinoma. So this is a difficult cytologic diagnosis, and that is partly because of the highly variable pattern of presentation, and as a result, the wide range of differential diagnoses that can be brought up as a result of that pattern. What I'll do is I just look at a couple of cases that illustrate probably the most common pattern that's seen and some of those features. So here's an example, and it's showing a predominantly dispersed pattern. You can see the cells really, even at this power, don't particularly look follicular in that they seem to have quite a bit of cytoplasm, even the single cells. It seems to be plasmacytoid, and you can see there's quite a bit of nuclear variation. Just here, there's a little area that's suggesting like a poorly formed maybe follicle, but could well be a rosette. Notice there's a bit of nuclear atypia here, so probably moderate anisokaryosis. And the cells all have a fair amount of kind of granular, plasmacytoid, moderately dense cytoplasm with not a terribly well-defined border. This is a PAP, and same sort of pattern you can see, and you can see the cytoplasm on all the cells here. So notice, follicular cells, it's often difficult to see any cytoplasm on them when they're single. Nuclei seem to be, eccentric in a kind of oval-shaped cell. And down here again, we've got some what appears to be more nuclear variation in size than you would normally see in follicular cells. Here on the PAP, we've got a few little groupings of cells, but they're not really forming, true follicles. Maybe some little sort of semicircles of nuclei that are sort of slightly, pseudo-acini or pseudo-rosettes. Nuclei appear to be fairly hyperchromatic and kind of a delicate chromatin, very small inconspicuous nuclei. And here, I'm not sure I can call that stippled chromatin, but it's quite a delicate sort of powdery chromatin really. Here's a grouping, and it's showing, again, that sort of semicircle of cells. This is another example and another pattern that's seen. So that first pattern, the plasmacytoid appearance, really is, in my experience, the most common, but you can get a real spindled pattern, which is what this is. So you can see, I guess it's that neuroendocrine pattern of combination of round and quite elongate spindle nuclei. It's mainly dispersed, although they're in kind of loose aggregates as well. And there is, definite cytoplasm associated with quite a lot of these cells. So this is an interesting sort of syncytial cluster of cells. You can see there's some quite spindled cells, and then there's also areas where there's definite molding of nuclei. They're kind of stacking around each other like cans of stones here. Here's the PAP, and similar findings really, spindly type nuclei and very disorganized groupings of cells. And notice here, in this case, we've got both grooves and intranuclear cytoplasmic inclusions present in some of the cells. So these are seen not as commonly as in papillary carcinoma, but they can be present. Chromatin in this case, probably is sort of lightly stippled. It certainly doesn't have any prominent nucleoli, so it's really in keeping with neuroendocrine type cells. So in summary, medullary thyroid carcinomas are usually highly cellular and a mainly dispersed arrangement of cells, sometimes with loose groupings, sometimes pseudo-rosettes are present. The cell type's highly variable. May range from plasmacytoid to small cell type to spindle cell to even giant cells. Unlike most follicular neoplasms, they show moderate anisokaryosis, and you see often quite occasional, very large nucleus like we saw in that first case. There may be moulding present, and amyloid is said to be present in many cases. It can be difficult just on a PAP or Giemsa stain to separate out from sometimes collagen or from thick colloid, I find. Ancillary tests are essential to make this diagnosis really, and the cells usually express calcitonin, neuroendocrine markers like chromogranin A, synaptophysin, and TTF1.